Hi, welcome to Web Design Mockups for Beginners in Photoshop tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through how to make a web design mockup in Photoshop from a template. So for those of you who don't have much experience in Photoshop, this is going to be the best way for you to go. Not only that, but it's probably a more realistic way of how you'll be approaching it as a newbie designer, and probably in an entry level position where you're given designs and then you will be asked to edit those designs. So this is a good way of doing it. If you have absolutely no Photoshop experience at all, you need to get some. You're not going to be able to do web design without being able to create graphics. So you have to know Photoshop. It's the industry standard. If you want to get hired, if you want to work in this industry, then you need to know Photoshop. I offer a class, Digital Imaging, which will be offered again in summer 2, and also in fall. I offer it every semester. And again, if you want to get a position as a web designer, then you have to know Photoshop. You have to take this class. You have to learn this, in addition to also taking typography classes and as much design classes as you possibly can. Okay, so we're going to get started here then. And in order to get the file, the template that you want to use to create the design, here's what we're going to be aspiring to. And you're going to create your design based on your topic, your global warming topic from drawdown.org. So you're going to take your own copy and you're going to take your own images. You should create a design from that. I highly recommend that you create and develop your content first, and I'm going to show you how I approach that. So you should be gathering all your copy, all your images, and anything else that you'll be using, your color palette, so on and so forth, before you even start this. That's the first thing that you should do, is start collecting that stuff. You're welcome to use what you started with in your first Wix Webs design. If you want to use parts of that, you can use the copy from that. That's totally fine. Again, copying and pasting is totally fine as well. At this point, at some point, you're going to have to become more original with it, but to start out with here, it doesn't have to be so. You can get whatever you want from the internet. And again, because this is an educational website, copyright doesn't matter there at all. So in order to get the template for this exercise, I'm going to be using a specific template, and it's in the materials in Canvas. So if you click on the assignment from the actual website here, we're in module 7. You click on assignment 4. It will take you here to Canvas, and then you can click to download this Photoshop beginners template. So what that's going to look like, I'm going to show you in a second, but then it's going to allow us to create something like this. Now the cool thing is the layout's already here, so pretty much all we got to do is change the text and the images. And again, I'm going to walk you through how I did this. And I pretty much left the layout the same, just changed icons, text, added images, pretty much left them in the same place, changed the text, and left pretty much everything there. So I can focus more on the content than on the actual layout or design at this point, which is probably more important as you're starting out. If you're already have a lot of experience with design, then I would recommend doing one of the other tutorials that you can do from scratch, that you can start from scratch, which are YouTube videos that I also have in this module as well. So, but it's totally up to you how you want to go with it. Okay, so that's what we're aspiring to create here. This is what we want to try to create here, is this design that's going to look like that. And the way that starts out is we get this file here, this posh free template, and opening that in Photoshop, what's going to happen is initially we're going to see this resolvement. It wants to resolve fonts. So we're seeing this window that says there's some missing fonts. You might have them all. I don't know. I didn't. You can download these fonts if you want, or you can resolve them with a different typeface, or you can just say don't resolve and you can mess with them as you change them. It's totally up to you. Some of these typefaces I did download, and it still comes up anyway because Font Awesome, there's a different version. So, and then same with Helvetica New. Avenir Medium, there was just a light version. So again, I'm not going to resolve this, and you can do this as you go along if you want to, or you can just do what Adobe chooses for you as default. I wouldn't sweat it. It's not that huge a deal, but it's totally up to you what you want to do. I would just make sure that you're consistent and don't use 20 different typefaces. There's 3 here, that's probably enough. And if you're going to resolve the fonts, just keep using the same one over and over again with the one that you choose. So that's the best way to approach it. So I'm going to click Don't Resolve here. And then it brings up the template here. And you can see there's a bunch of folders here in Photoshop. And I can go through and I can make sure that I make my changes with the different layers in here. So now again, the first thing that I want to start with is I want to make sure I have all my content. So my content is here. I have all my images here that I'm going to use. I have my copy. So I created my copy already, so I can copy and paste this. This is already done for me. It's way easier than going through and then trying to piecemeal it. So I have all my images here, and I'm going to just go through and put it together from there. I also have my finished product here just to refer back to you to show you as I've done this already. So that's already there. And I will probably go back and forth. Let me see if I can show you the finished piece. Oh, here it is. Okay, so here's what it looks like. Here's what the layers look like, and here's how it kind of changed compared to the original here, which is this posh free one. Let's zoom in here. So yeah, I like to go ahead and zoom in to see stuff easier. If you double click the magnifying glass, it'll fill the window, which is nice. If you want to see it at 1:1 pixels, this is the 1:1 size, so that's 100% it's showing. I'm sorry, it's fitting the whole thing in the window. If you want to see it at 100%, you can see right here, pixel for pixel. And you might want to, I cannot see the whole thing, I'm sorry. I can't see the edges here, so if you want to, it's not important. I don't think there's any content on the edges that I really need to see, but it might be easier here to do that. So, I mean, just to start out with, one of the things that I want to show you here is that I want to use this workspace for graphic and web. And this brings me this character panel here, which is good when I'm using Typeface, which Typeface is probably the most essential part of web design. We got to read, we got to know what things are, we got to communicate, and understanding Typeface is essential. A lot of these little icons that you see here are glyphs. So with I did download Font Awesome, and Font Awesome has these glyphs in it, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. So I went ahead and did that. And the first thing I'm just going to do is I want to change this background image. And if I go to the header here, one of the things that is helpful here is the way this is organized here. I am going to change that around quite a bit, and for my theme here, I'm actually not going to have service. If you look at my text here, my menu is classes, about us, careers, blog, content. So my sections are, I'm going to get rid of home first of all. Home doesn't need to be on here, it's redundant. When you make a website, most of the time the convention is that your logo go back to your home page. So I'm just going to get rid of that from the start. It's not going to be here, but these other areas, instead of service, I'm going to have classes. And I'm just going to change this right now because it's going to help me stay organized. My other one was About Us, Careers. So this is going to be About Us. Then Careers. What else did I have here? Blog, contact, they're already there in that right order there. Okay, so that's going to be essential here. Now the cool thing is, like I was saying here, is I can turn the visibility on and off, and I can see that which parts of the header here fit there. Okay, so you can see that's where all that stuff goes. So right away, I want to change that image. One of the cool things in Photoshop is if we use the Move tool and we have Auto Select checked off here, we can click on any part of the image, or it's an image, the file, and it will select that element, that layer. Okay, so I clicked on this picture here, this image here, and it selected the layer that the image is in. And you can see here it's Avera Woodward, whatever. And it has this little arrow thing going down. That means that this image here is clipped into this rectangle that's below it. So if we look here, this is a rectangle that's there. So we could actually look at this whole site here like this without any images in it, which is kind of interesting to do. I can go and turn off all these images and see just what the spaces are there that create it. Oh, that one was kind of hard to see there because, let's see, doesn't make a difference because it's a white background, so we can't really see it. But yeah, so each one of these has a little rectangle there that is used to as a placeholder. So as a size placeholder, that design's already done for you. Again, that makes it really cool. So it makes it easier for us to, again, not worry about the design part of it and just find images that will fit in there. And we can see that, yeah, I think that's pretty much everything there. So that's what it looks like, the actual design part of it without the images in it. And that might, make it easier to wrap your head around it. I'm not sure what works for you, but sometimes it does. So anyway, what I want to start with is I want to change this image because for me, the content there helps me drive how I'm going to work with my copy. I mean, it's got to match the copy. It's got to work with the copy. And so your main image has to work together with it. And rather than make, the copy something that is separate, which it's not, it's easier, or I think it's more valuable to see it that way, with the image there and then work together from that. So that's the first thing I'm going to start with here is I'm going to put the main image in here. And I clicked on this rectangle here because it selects the background rectangle, the one that I'm going to clip into. And then hopefully I can drag the image on top of that. So it's selected there, the rectangle. I'm going to go find my image, which I don't remember what it's called. It is the layer 3. And then again, as long as I have the Move tool selected, I can drag this image up. Oops, where is my... Okay, this is not good. I can't see the new image. Okay, I'm gonna have to get it close here. Where'd it go? Okay. So now, because I got to be able to drag it onto the tab, and that's what I did there. So I'm going to drag it from here onto the tab, and I'm just going to drag it on top. See, there's a plus there in the middle of the arrow there. Now I can let go and it fits in here. Okay, so it automatically clipped it. If it didn't do that, if it didn't automatically clip, which means it's cutting the pixels to fit inside this rectangle here. Sometimes it won't do that, and I'm going to remove the clipping here. Let's see, release it. So then it just looks like that, and then the image is just kind of there. If that happens, then you want to hold down the Alt key, and look what happens to the cursor here. It has a little down arrow, and then it allows me to clip in there. I'm just going to get rid of this other image because I don't want it confusing me anymore, the old one. And there it is, it's clipped in there. I probably want to zoom out, so if you do Control and minus, you can zoom out a little bit, and I can see, look, my image is not really fitting right there. I can click and drag if I want to, so you move it around in here. I like to use the arrow keys to nudge, so I'm using the up and down arrow to get the image where I want it. Exactly where I want it. That's a picture of me in Belize. So I teach my summer classes online, and sometimes, well, I used to before the pandemic anyway, do it in exotic dive locations, which was kind of fun, which is kind of cool. So there I am. I have my image there. And so this is going to help drive how, again, I put together the rest of the parts here. Yeah, so that's a good way to start. Another thing I haven't shown you yet, which I'm going to now, is these templates are pretty cool in that they use a 960 grid system. And the way that's set up, they already come with guides. So to toggle guides on and off, I hold down the Control key and then hit the semicolon, and you can see there's some guides there. And the guides help me make sure that I have everything even. So I have everything spaced the way I want it spaced. And that helps a lot. And if I really, really want to fine tune that, what I can do is I can turn on grids then. So if I hold down Control and hit the apostrophe key, it brings up a grid here. And then this grid I can set up to then make sure that I have things spaced very precisely if I want to do that. So it's totally up to you. You can start big to begin with, and if you want to refine from there, you can refine from there. But it's up to you. One of the things that I noticed when I was putting this together was it was really hard to read the text here after I put this image here. So I decided that I wanted to put a rectangular box around this, so it would be a little bit easier to be able to read it. So you can see here we already have like these nice lines already set up here, and I thought, you know, why not? It's already spaced right and everything. I don't have to deal with anything else. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. There we go. So I'm going to get the rectangle tool down here, and I'm going to draw a box here. I made it a little bigger than the area. And you can see here with my properties here, you can see it up here. I don't have a fill there, and there's a stroke on there automatically. I don't want this on here. And again, if you don't understand what I'm saying here, you don't know Photoshop, you really, really need to take a class, or you're going to have to do a lot of tutorialing, okay, because you've got to know this stuff. You have to. Okay, so I drew this rectangle here. If I double click the top here, I can see my layers panel better. There we go. So again, if I turn visibility on and off, I can see it there. It's black. I don't want it black. I want to reduce the opacity probably somewhere around 45 or so. I can still see the image there now, but it's way easier to read the text. Way easier, because the text is really small and a lot of these areas are pretty bright. I'm going to turn the guides off, so toggle, control, and semicolon. And you can see here how much easier that is to read. You see this little blue line around here is because the rectangle is selected. If I deselect it, it is no longer selected. I don't know why, but I have an extra. Looks like I drew this here somehow. I'm going to delete it. Another one. Wow. I don't know how that happened. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now I can go and I can change my text. I wanted to change it. I can start there. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that, because there's another thing I want to do as well. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in up here. So I am going to change the date and time. If again I get the move tool up here, which I can just hit V if I want to, and I double click it. Look what happens here. It's saying it doesn't have this typeface because I have a newer version of Font Awesome and it doesn't work. So I'm just going to say OK. And then I'm going to go up here and select Font Awesome. Font Awesome free, and I think it's going to be solid is the one I want. So if you see here now, the phone is back there. It's weird the way they did the plus happen, but the phone came back, so I don't like that plus. I'm going to put a new one. So I can just copy and paste from my text up here. And then this guy here was the direction icon. If I go up here to glyphs and I select my Font Awesome, and yep, it is solid. I can find that, what's that thing called? The directional. Okay, I'm going to pause this for a sec till I find it. Okay, there it is, right there. And if I double click that, there it is. It puts it right there. And then I'm going to copy and paste my address. Okay, so far so good. Click the checkbox here to make the changes, and that looks good. I'm not going to use this as a logo. I decided I want to use something else, so that's what this is right here. I am pretty sure, where is that? Yeah, That's a logo there. Rather, what I'm going to do is use my own logo. So my logo is, let's see, where is it? Oh, you know what? I should close this, get it out of the way. There's my logo. I'm going to drag this to my template there, put it right there, and I'm going to make it smaller. So transform, Control and T, drag from the corners. And I kind of just want it to fit within that space there. I mean, it doesn't have to, you know, be perfect, but should fit in there very well. Okay, so this is going to be a super long video. Yeah, so that fits there. I want to put my guides back on in order to make sure it is centered. Okay, so that's 800. That's the middle of my document, that line there. And that's just where I wanted to put it. Before I move anything else, though, I want to make sure I'm going to change some stuff around here before I do that. So let's do that first. So yeah, I can leave those on. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so my nav bar is going to be this right here. And I'm going to move it to the end there like I had before. Okay. And then if I wanted to change these social media icons, I could as well. Okay, so rather than use this guy right here, I am actually, is this my logo? I want to label it. I'm just going to toss this thing because I don't want it. And then what I'm going to put here is actually, you know what? I don't think I want to put anything there right now. What I do want to do is move these things over, though. To about right there. And then I did want to put some text there, I think. Let's get the text tool, and I'm going to put Media Arts of SBCC there. And see, it's already the right size and everything. So I just need to line it up. I want to make sure it's lined up with that there, and all this looks good. So take these off. We can see how that looks there. Looks pretty good. I might want to move this line down if it bothers me after a while. I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. It looks okay for now. This right here is a hover. So this little line thing right there. So when it's an actual website, if you have your cursor over it, it'll show you, like, you know, what link you're going to be on. I don't want this color right now. I'm going to actually make all my colors colors be the same as my logo. So that's going to be my color scheme. Putting it there. And yeah, so that's pretty much the header there. That's changing the header. And then we're just going to go through and do the rest like that. I don't know if you actually want me to do this whole thing. But what I did here was then I changed the type here. So it's fun to make up web designs. Oh, I already had that there. And then again, I'm going to use this color I have here. And then I changed this text here. It's funny what it says there. Have you ever wondered what you know about herbal breast enlargement is accurate? Huh? What? Really? Okay. Have you ever wondered how you can change the world? Like that better. Okay, so yep, that's that right there. I want to change the color of this watch the video thing, which is this rectangle here. Has a color. So everything is pretty basic, yeah? So there's that. Go back here. So for our services, I had our classes instead. Again, we just click on that, paste, click the checkbox there, double click that again. What did I have here? We train you for the workforce designed to save our planet. I had some classes that I put here. If you hit return or enter, it'll put it on the second line. I think I centered this stuff. It looked better centered. And then again, you can use the arrow keys. If you want to, you can turn on the guides to make sure that it's centered properly. I did that for each one of these. Okay, I'm not going to do all of them. Okay, these are images up here. So if you want to change them, you just got to find them here. They're under service. And look, if you turn off the visibility, there's the wedding cake one. There's the document one. And if you want to replace them, you know, all you got to do is get your Typeface tool and add a, if you go to select again wherever it goes, Font Awesome Free, and you find a glyph that you want to use. So for digital drawing, I don't, let's just say, for example, oh, I just want to put the keyboard there. Okay, so let's say I want to use that. So it shows it there, and then you can just make the typeface bigger if you want and make a bigger icon. So if you wanted something different, that's the way to do it. And you can change all of them if you want. I'm not gonna, so I'm gonna let you do whatever you want there, okay? Sound good? Okay, so that's all those. That's our classes. The next thing I'm going to do is change this image here. Remember there was an image here. I turned it off. So here was the image that I turned the visibility off on. If I have the bottom part selected, it will automatically put the image in the right place there. The next image, the image that I had used there was this one here. Where is it? Torres. Okay, so it was this image here. Hopefully, nope, I can't see it. So I'm going to have to drag these over here. Okay, now I can see it. And then it's huge, right? It doesn't fit in here. So what I'm going to have to do to make it fit is, again, transform it. So that is Control T. And you can see the bounding. Oops, did I have it not have it selected? Oh, there it is. It's massive. So you can see the edge of it up there. And then I'm just going to drag it from the corner all the way down over to here. Should be able to see it a little better now. Yep, fits better, way better. So I'm just going to drag it to the corner here. And find the other edge, which is, yep, down over here. Drag that up to the corner. And you can, you know, there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. You can make it smaller to begin with if you want to. It's totally up to you, whatever technique works. I am just going to make it fit as close as I possibly can here. So it looks like I went a little large. And see, then it fit. As soon as I double clicked and accepted the transformation, it fits in there. And then once it's in there, I can move it around. Okay, so that's there. That's that. Again, I want to change these colors. So this is the rectangle there. If I double click it, I can go and where's my color? Another thing I could do is copy and paste this code. I could put it in my libraries. I just don't want to do that right now. Don't want to spend the time doing that for you. And I could go through and do them all right now too if I wanted to, which is probably a good idea. All the ones that I'm going to change colors on. Let's do learn more. So I just copied the code and I'm pasting it here. So that's the learn more, the arrow, that background thing. I could do this hard if I wanted to. You know what? I'm just going to not even use that. I'm going to delete it later. I'm not going to use more video. I'm not going to use that part. I will use this part. There's a couple little thingies in here. There's the ones that say blue. Kind of odd, but okay, so I'm not going to change them all, but you saw I changed that. Okay, all I have to do is change the text here now. And I had this in my text here. We offer and then learn more. That's all good. So this is an image here. I'm going to replace that image with this one, I believe. Yes. So most of the tool I'm using the most in here is the move tool, if you haven't noticed that already. I need to transform this again because it's too big. Again, the easiest way is just to drag this to the right, to the correct width. And then move from there. Which is good. It's already there. That's good. Another thing I did here, I kind of didn't like this being completely opaque, so I reduced the opacity of it to make it a little more transparent. So you can just see through it a little bit. It's down to 75 or so. Not too much because we still want it legible, but yeah. This love icon I got rid of. So let's see. We've got a little more text here. This is about us. I'm going to move that down, make it centered. About there. Again, I can be more exact. All I need to do is turn on my guides. And I can be totally perfect with it. And I highly recommend you doing that and getting into the habit of doing that. Finally, this paragraph here, copy and paste. So see how much easier this is when I already have all my content ready to rock. So I am, not all of it is there, so I need to open this box up so it fits. I think I need to do it a little more. And then what I ended up doing is, is reducing the type size to 14 so it fit in here a little better. There we go. Once I can then center it, which is all I did. This now is going to be careers. And then let us inspire you. And then I did something a little bit different here in that I wanted to have it look like this because I needed to use text there. So what I did was I pretty much copied these two things here, and then I'm going to flip them around. So I need to find these, which is, if I look here, this is the text, and this is the image. Oops. So I'm going to shift select those two layers. And then I'm going to duplicate them. And then I'm going to drag them down to, where was I? Oops, I kind of messed up. Careers. Oops. It looks like I clipped this here. Oh. Clip that back there. Okay. So even though I moved those in layer stack, I still have to move them. And this gets a little tricky here when I try to do that with the move tool. I have to uncheck auto select, and then I want to make sure that you'll see this is kind of tricky. Where was the careers, not blog? These guys here. I want to make sure that they're selected, because what I'm going to do is I'm dragging a copy from up here, and you can see here it's going to get hidden, and then it's going to come back, and then I'm just going to put it on top of this right here. So that's in about the same place there. I mean, that's one way to do it. You could do it a different way. It doesn't really matter, but that's the way I chose to do it. So actually now what I want to do is I'm going to change this image. Oh, that's a text. I no longer want to use this one. So I'm actually going to delete both of these. Drag them to the trash. And then the image frame is what I want selected, and then I have an image that I want to use, which is this one here. And again, I'm going to clip it. Oops, why did it not clip? There we go. It looks weird in there, but oh, I probably want to turn off the video thing too. There we go. And the button. So transform. Drag this baby down here. Yep, this was going to be a long video, but if you're not sure what to do with Photoshop, then you need to do this. There's no way around it. Okay, so then I can get this where I want it. And then I'm just going to change the type in here. I have to move my learn more and my shape. So again, in the layers palette, I'm selecting them and then I'm using the move tool or the arrows to nudge them down. It's the best way to do it. And again, I want to just make sure my spacing is even, but that looks good for now. Oops. And you can see there, that looks awesome. Okay, so we're almost there. I'm going to get rid of this right here. I don't need it. So I'm just going to delete it. It's gone. I'm going to go ahead and do the type here first. So the first one is going to be product design. And then the rest, I think, are final project. Okay. Sometimes it just allows you to double click on it and it selects it, and sometimes it makes you commit the changes. Maybe it's just the way I'm clicking. I don't know. I'm going to change the names now. We're almost done. I think we're going to keep it just barely under an hour here. See, now this one moved, so I'm going to have to move this over to keep it lined up. So one of the things that when I grade this stuff, one of the things that I hate seeing, so don't do it, is that you leave default text in there or default content of any kind. So I'm not going to do it either. I'm getting rid of every single default piece of text that's in there. So I'm expecting you to do the same thing. And that's all I'm doing here. Okay, now that I've got all the text there, I can put the images here. So, why is it not selecting that? Oh, I turned off auto select, remember? That's funny. Okay, so the picture that I wanted in there was, I think this one, yes. It's a cool Spider-Man design. Okay. Next, let's get rid of these. I mean, see how it's just drag and drop on here. I kind of screwed up there. I didn't have the right one selected. So, got to make sure you have the right one selected. I didn't have it. Why are you doing that? See, look, I even have problems. There we go. Yeah, these are just huge files, and you should be using huge files because the basic rule about quality in Photoshop is that you can go from big to small, but you cannot go from small to big. So you notice I'm taking large files and making them smaller, not the other way around. So you cannot take small files and make them bigger. And that is a #1 rule of thumb that you need to know with images when you're working on the web. So that is why I'm doing that, and that's why it takes a little more time, because you have to make them smaller, but in the end the quality, oh, I forgot that again, forgot to select that, makes it all the difference in the world. Okay, I'm going to do the rest of these. Okay, so that's looking good. I got all those in there. Now I'm just going to change the contact information. I changed this one line here. Here's our digits. Hit us up sometime. The address and phone number again. Add this up here. I have this on 2 lines. Wow, this is just going to be about an hour. Okay, so you know I'm copying and pasting here. Okay, I am copy and pasting the, oops, the text for my navigation. That moved because it got a little smaller. And again, I probably want to line everything up here. This was a logo again. I want to put my logo there. Yeah. Either way, I mean, you know, we can copy and paste it there. And then I'm changing the text on these guys, adding Twitter. And pretty much that is it. I'm going to put the logo down here. Okay, so I made a copy of the logo. There's the logo layer. I'm going to have to grab it from up here again. And remember, I need to take off auto select when I do that. It's underneath, that's why we're not seeing it, hopefully. Come on. Now everything's sticking. I probably could have zoomed out and might have been easier to drag it, but again, I kind of like to show you me having problems too, because it makes it feel better when you have them, huh? So probably want to put on the guides. Oops, wrong one. To make sure that's centered. Logo there. So I'm communicating properly. Turn them off. See what this guy looks like. And there it is. There's my design. I can see it small. And if I save it as a JPEG, then I can go and look at it in a web browser. But I do want to save it as a Photoshop document, just so you can have it and make changes to it later if you need to. But if I do a file save as, first of all, I want to do a file save. And actually do a save as, and then name it, I forget what I asked you to do it in the assignment. What did I do here? Mockup.jpg. So let's do that. And I would save it as a Photoshop document first, if I were you. So you save all your layers. If you don't, all your layers will be thrown away and then you can't do anything. So when I ask you to revise it, this is going to be way easier. So make a Photoshop document, copy first, and then say, go to export and export as JPEG. Mockup JPEG, export. Put it in my folder there. And then I can drag it. If I can see it, there it is. I can drag it into the browser and see it in the browser. There we go. Where is mockup? Mockup JPEG. Drag it in the browser. Click on zoom in, and there it is. Very cool, huh? All right, so that's how we start out. From there, again, this is a beginner tutorial for beginner Photoshop users. It might get on a little bit fast, but that's why you have a video here. You can slow it down, stop, rewind. If you know nothing about Photoshop, then you're going to have to do some lida.com or get Adobe Classroom in a book or something, do some tutorials to learn at least these basics that I did in Photoshop, as far as cutting and pasting and copying and pasting and such. All right. Let me know if you have further questions. Upload this as a JPEG, and then again save the PSD so you can work on it, which we will be working on it later on in the course. You'll be making other versions of this. You'll be doing a mobile version of it, and then you're going to be doing responsive design, where you're going to be making multiple versions of this. All right, have fun.